Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's video is a review on from an artist called OK, and the title is Story of the Untold. This is a 7-track EP in the style of dub techno, techno, ambient techno. This is the first I've actually heard of the artist. They're out of Germany. This is the 135th edition of the Mood series, which is Greyscale Records out of Lithuania. Their their long-standing series, which has been going on for roughly almost 6 years now. It's been a series that's been really consistent, and one of the keys, like I've said before, is they do a great job in showcasing a lot of different dub techno producers from around the world, from different countries, as far as Japan and Tennessee and Canada and UK, Pakistan, even Africa. I think if I recall, there was an artist from Africa in there. So just a lot of different countries represented, and that really lends itself to the unique quality and really pushing the boundaries of the Mood series and the Grayscale label. And it's just been a fantastic series to be a small part of, and to hear the evolution of the series and the great music that's come from it. So yeah, we're gonna review this one. You'll be able to actually hear it track by track with me and debut it as well. This is the first time I'm hearing it. This release will be out in the next few weeks on the label, and I'm glad to get a chance to check it out, review it, and share it with you guys. If there's anything that you guys would want me to review, music that you do personally, electronic music that you do, or you'd like me to, review something like an album that I'm showing above, like maybe The Hacker or DAF or U2's Lemon. Maybe there's a song that you want me to release, maybe Borgisha. Um, maybe Depeche Mode. You'd like me to review something by them, maybe a song or an album. Just email me. My contact is below, and we'll check it out and talk about it. And uh, yeah, yeah. So let's check out the first track called "The False Mirror." This is from the artist called OK, and the album or the EP title is Story of the Untold. All right, let's check it out. All right, so that was the first track called "The False Mirror." First off, it starts off with some chords that really kind of lend itself to the history and the roots sound of dub, in my opinion. The It's kind of lingering. Um, the melody kind of and the chords they're kind of in no man's land. They're not necessarily optimistic or positive. They're not necessarily darker. They're kind of lingering in the middle, and it makes for a kind of setting. It kind of sets the tone as like a. This is kind of a track that you really want to set the mood. Like if you're a DJ, like a really good opener to kind of mix out of. Just kind of sets the mood. Doesn't really go too far, to the extreme. It also kind of builds the anticipation as well. It's fairly quick for a dub techno. It's a little bit on the faster side. I tracked it around 126 BPM, so it is a little bit faster beat, but not too fast. I would think faster than like 130 or 128 is generally a faster dub techno track. Um, but it kind of sets the tone for the album, perhaps. Uh, in the long run, because it doesn't really do too much. It drops out a couple times, the beat comes back in, but it's fairly straightforward. Production is pretty solid. Nothing groundbreaking on this track. Um, I give the track a 5.5 stars out of 10. I think it's a pretty good track. Um, but it is trying to be reserved, so it's not really trying to be over the top or in my opinion, trying to be. It could be one of those albums where, and sometimes that happens where some dub techno producers produce more of a track, and then some produce more like an overarch of an album and a well flowing album. So it'd be interesting to see how this EP progresses, because from the first track it feels that it's going to be a kind of more of a storytelling, and that goes great with the title, because the title is called "Story of the Untold." But as far as like looking at it like a track, specifically and ranking it, I give it 5.5 stars. But in the grand scheme of the EP, we'll have to see and see how it builds and brings up the anticipation of the album, and really kind of sets the tone. And let's go into the second track and see how that is. And that's the title track, "Story of the Untold." So we'll check that out now. All right, so that was the second track called "Story of the Untold." This one's certainly deeper, a little bit more ominous. About the same speed. I also tracked it around 126 BPMs. A little bit more techy, nice percussion. It'd be interesting to mix this one off of the first track since they're roughly the same BPM. And I don't know if this, so I've heard some dub techno albums in the past where sometimes the producer produces them to where they could mix together really well. If you did, we're on two decks and we're mixing, track by track, and this one seems to go really well. Like it would go really well over the first track. It kind of takes the sort of lingering sound of the first track and really kind of, because of the percussion and the taut, nice beat, kind of takes it just a step a little bit further. Certainly a more ominous sound, certainly a little bit darker. When the third stanza comes in with the beat comes back in, the chords kind of echo a little bit more, and it's kind of a nice touch, but kind of subliminal as well. And just, I can tell from so far, it's just some nice touches, but really kind of keeping it in a more minimal mind frame, and just light evolutions and light changes, and keeping it very deep and heavy. And yeah, this one definitely keeps you in suspense for the whole track. It really kind of has you kind of wondering where it's going to go next, and that seems like a really nice progression from the first track. Is if you play these all in a row, it's definitely like more of a story so far, anyways. Solid production on this track. Nice attention to detail. Nice small changes. Really kind of keeps you in suspense. Nice and tight. I give this track 7 stars out of 10. I think it's a very good track. Track 3, Trying to Get an ID. A little bit train spotting action on this track. So let's check out this one. All right. All right, so that was track number 3 called Trying to Get an ID. This one's right in line with the last two tracks. Definitely favoring the more minimal, consistent deepness and consistency. I really like the rhythm. There's some very in depth, but very intricate and very subliminal, almost rhythm evolving that happens around 3 minutes. It's just very light in the background and really kind of makes the track feel like it's speeding up and sort of becoming a little bit more techy. And it just does it just for a little bit. It's a nice, cool touch. But for the most part, just you know, consistent, deep, kind of minimal dub techno that really kind of puts you in a zone and just kind of pulls you in and just kind of that deeper kind of I wouldn't say this is dance floor dub techno at all. It definitely feels more like you know with the headphones on and the lights off and your eyes closed and just getting deep into the music and just being taken away by subliminal laid back ominous kind of moody dub techno, just deep techno in general. I think it's a good track, but it doesn't necessarily, you know, go outside the limits again and sort of. It's pretty consistent. I wouldn't say it's an excellent track, but for what it's doing, it's solid. Do I wish there was more going on and evolving? That's so much. I mean, it's doing its thing. Clearly, the artist so far, favors more consistent tracks that kind of stay in the groove and stay in the sweet spot, and I'm okay with that. Will it get the higher ratings of 8 and 9? It kind of depends on the sounds. That's really kind of being very minimal. Here, it's pretty solid, but I can't say it's fantastic, but definitely above average for sure. And still think it's a good track. So I give it 6.25 stars. Um, and we're gonna go on to track number four called Gnarly Days. Let's check out this one. All right, so that was track number 4 called "Gnarly Days." This one's a little bit more spacious in the rhythm and the melodies. It's a little bit more chord focused, and the chord play work off each other really well. It's subtle, it's subliminal, it's consistent. It pretty much stays in the zone. Very consistent with the other tracks. Again, nothing groundbreaking, nothing really out of the ordinary, but definitely still solid, still above average, and consistent. Um, Dub Techno stays in the sweet spot. Can't fault it. Can't say it's great, but can't say it's okay. It's still really solid, and it's right in line with the rest of the album. So it definitely seems like the artist prefers a nice, consistent, um, minimal grooves and with some light, subtle chord work. Nothing groundbreaking, but again, nothing that's subpar. It's still. I listen to a lot of dub techno. I listen to a lot of techno, and rhythm and the progression of rhythm is one of the most important things uh, that is really important to the genre of techno, and the evolution of it, and the listenability of it, and the and where the direction of it goes, and this is still really solid rhythms in techno, and in a minimal structure, and just with some light chord work and atmosphere, some gentle static in the background, nice spacious feel. Everything's still up on the up and up. Just nothing, really that really is. Excuse me, is really again like a groundbreaking or anything, but it's still really solid. Um, it's there's certain dub technos producers that prefer uh, on the minimal side of dub techno, and just kind of more in line with the rhythm. And this is certainly so far it's been like that through the first 4 tracks. I give it a 6 out of 10 stars. I still think it's a good track, but nothing great, nothing uh, okay, or still above, well above pretty good, and well above average. So we're gonna go on to track number 5 called "The Home of No Code." All right, that was track number 5 called "The Home of No Code." This one, the chords and the rhythm work off each other in a little bit different way, just slightly different. Still, for the most part, stays in the consistent minimal dub techno frame. I do like the rising. There's a slight rise in the tension in the track as the melody goes along, kind of lingers. Um, I like the way it kind of leaves you in suspense and kind of puts you in that again that sort of no man's land where you're not sure whether it's going to pull out of it, it's going to be positive, or you're not sure if it's going to be darker and give even more dramatic, or it's just right lays right in that kind of ominous zone where um, it just kind of it adds a nice bit of mystery into the track, and it's always something that I look for in dub techno when you think of like the emotion inside of minimal techno. And again, this is another very minimal. I wouldn't say it's overly minimal because there's a lot more minimal techno than this, where not much goes on. But this is fairly straightforward, loopy kind of dub techno that evolves. So it still is on the very minimal side. But the great thing is there's just such um, slight evolutions of the chords and risings and the play off the chords off the beat and the rhythm on this is very subtle, but it really works nicely. And this album definitely seems like a lesson in how to listen to um, subliminal techno, and because it's very small, intricate changes that evolve and rise, and some evolve over a little bit more time, but for the most part, it's um, even all the tracks have been right around 6 minutes, so they seem to have like the same progression, and I tend to like tracks in the 7 to 8, 9 minute range. And then some dub techno, I don't mind in the 10 to 13 minute range if it's more like ambient techno. But this is nice and concise, 6 minutes, which lends me to kind of believe that these tracks do go together in some way, and even if it's just the obvious, the flow of the album, but they almost progress in kind of the same way, and it seems like almost every track has like 2 to 3, maybe 4 dropouts and brings back the beats. And I like this track a little bit more than the last few. I give this one 6.5 stars just because of the slight tension building and the uneasiness in this, and a little bit more ominous, a little bit more darker, and the rhythm's a little bit more unique in this one. Right in between, again, 6.5 stars, right in between good and very good. Um, Last 2 tracks remaining. We're going to go on to number 6, Why Places Become Ugly. All right, so that was track number 6 called Why Places Become Ugly. This one's certainly more focused on the chords, a little bit more ambient. It's kind of almost a perfect balance between the ambient parts and the parts with beat when it comes to the focus. It seems like even though it seems like the focus is a little bit more on the chords and the ambient part, like it's broken up really nicely. The breaks are really nice. I really like the longest break that has the chords kind of evolving and sort of uh, drifting off and becoming more echoey and just kind of more distance, and then it just kind of comes back with the beat. Really nice, gentle track. Um, I like this one. It's one of my favorites so far. Actually, tied for second favorite with the last track. I give this one 6.5 stars as well. Solid production. Yeah, I got really nothing necessarily negative to say about it at all. But it's still pretty straightforward. It's really consistent. It almost reminds me a little bit of Deep Chords music, although the maybe the beats aren't as catchy as Deep Chord because Deep Chords did some amazing stuff, but it's very consistent. It's really in the vein of the original forms of the minimal dub techno. It really kind of reminds me a lot of like the 2002 to 2007 period. But yeah, we're gonna go on to the last track called Mark of Shame. All right, so that was the last track called "Mark of Shame." This was just a little bit over 3 minutes. Obviously, an ambient kind of outro to the ending of the album. Um, it's nice and gentle. It's kind of reminiscent. Obviously, pretty straightforward with the chords, but just some echo and like a sound that's sort of another rhythm is sort of in there, and it just kind of sounds off. And like it's starting almost two cycles, kind of evolving. And it's a solid ambient track outro. I give it 6 stars out of 10. I think it's good for what it does. So yeah, the overall my overall thoughts on the album: 43 and 3/4 stars divided by 7 tracks is a 6.25. And so I think that correlates to the album, the overall. I can't necessarily give it any additional points for being groundbreaking, or I think the really solid album overall. Solid production, still above average. Stays in the sweet spot. Nice and minimal dub techno. Nice subtle changes. Good atmosphere. Um, I do kind of. I mean, it's successful in what it does. I do wish that there's maybe some more things kind of come out of the tracks a little bit more. Maybe evolve a little bit more. Maybe add a few additional, maybe a little bit more atmosphere, maybe a little bit more sound effects, maybe a little bit more evolution in the track. But for what it does, I mean, it's not like not successful in what it does. It is straightforward, and it gets to the point, and it gets the job done, and it does what it intends to do. There is a part of me that kind of wishes there was a little bit more, and evolving these tracks. They're all kind of like right around 6 minutes. Maybe if a few of them went to like 8 minutes and just evolved a couple minutes longer, it might have been a little bit higher score. But overall, I think it's a good, solid dub techno EP. I think it does the work. It does what it's supposed to do, and it definitely puts you in a deeper mindset and takes you to another place. And it's consistent, nice, solid, and good rhythms. Good production overall. I feel like. Curious to know what your thoughts are. Maybe what your favorite track is. What your score would be if you listen to these tracks with me. And again, if you'd like me to review something, from electronic music, could be something old like Depeche Mode. Could be something new like some dub techno or EDM music or techno or what have you. Just write me an email below, and I'd be curious to know what you have suggested for me to listen to, and we'll talk about it. All right, thanks so much for listening. That was the band called OK, and the title was Story of Untold, and I gave it a 63 out of 100. I think it's a good album. All right, thanks so much for watching.
Well,